So today I have the Sarb035. I've already made a review, or more like an overview of this watch. I've even hailed the Sarb line as one of the best Seiko watches of all time. And I think that opinion can be a bit controversial because Seiko has released many bangers throughout time. I just think the Sarb, the way they're designed, the price points, the value they represent is just unmatched. And obviously, you have the Sarb035 here, which I think is more this watch. I've said the best Seiko of all time, but it's actually the same watch. The only difference is the color of the dial and the date window. So I think both watches are just amazing, and these could be a must-have for some people in their collection because they interchange as a dress watch and also as a sports watch. The thing and the reason why I'm making this review now is because I might actually sell the Sarb035, but not for the reasons that you think. It's not because I don't like the watch, because clearly I do. The design I'm in love with. I love the intricate details of the watch. I love almost every aspect of it, especially for the price point. I still think it's unbeatable. The value is amazing. The design and the allure this watch have is still amazing. I'm only selling it mainly because I think I just have too many watches. Honestly, I just think the amount of watches I have is just too many. I think for some watch enthusiasts, they'll be like, well, you only have, I think I have maybe 10, 15 watches. And I think some people will go, well, that's not that many. But I think I really want to give proper time to each watch that I use. And sometimes these are such classic, you just go, well, I can get back to this watch whenever I feel like it. And that's kind of a problem, I'm not gonna lie. I would love to use these watches all the time. It's almost like you take these watches and the Sarb035 for granted simply because of how classic it is. You know what I mean? It's such a classic watch that sometimes it feels like, well, why use it now? Take your time and use it whenever you feel like it. And which is great, but it's a watch that you're supposed to love and wear. So instead of using the classics you already have in your collections, you go out and search for something new and interesting, which is part of the watch collecting journey. Watch collection is about experimenting, it's about understanding what you like, what you dislike. And I think I've gone through that experience. And I think I've figured out what I enjoy and what I don't enjoy. I just think that I've sold off a lot of watches that I've had throughout time because there's some things about them I didn't like. But the Sarb035, I definitely do like. I just think, one aspect is also just to free up some cash. I think that's also an important aspect of watch collecting sometimes. It can get very expensive to own watches. These are not cheap, they're $500. And if you think about it, before beginning this journey, you would never have spent even $100 or maybe $200 on a watch. That would have been extremely expensive. That would have been a one-time purchase. But now it's almost like $500 is amazing value compared to other watches on the market. And it's wild that this market even exists. You didn't know that prior to really dwelling into it. And you don't necessarily know a lot of people having this watch interest other than people online. So it becomes kind of like a hobby on your own. Maybe you can meet people through forums and stuff like that. But yeah, otherwise, it's an expensive hobby just to have alone. But I still enjoy it. I still think it's just a fun hobby, and I still don't know why I love these mechanics of a watch and why they're so interesting to me. I still can't really explain it. But yeah, that's me just rambling a bit. But yeah, I might actually sell it off just to free up some cash and just, maybe, have other watches. And I think I just want to use them more. And also think because I can always get the Sarb035 again. They're always on the market at a certain point. The price point can vary. Getting a good deal on them can be hard sometimes. But if you look at certain online famous marketplaces, yeah, they're going to be expensive. But if you look at them, you look for them at local marketplaces, you will be lucky to get them at a good price. And I think $500 is not unreasonable for this watch. you should be able to get it in at a decent condition. But yeah, let's get to the review. So the Sarb035, it has a 6R15 movement with an exhibition case back, so you can actually see it. It's very utilitarian, so it's not decorated with any colors or any special minerals or anything like that. I think for me, it's been working fine. I think for some people, they've not been too happy with the movement. I've had a bunch of watches with the 6R15. I've had the, obviously the Sarb035, Sarb033, but also I've had the Sarb029. I've had other Sarbs as well in different colors where it has worked beautifully for me. So I think the 6R15 movement is great. It's an in-house movement as well because Seiko produces it. But yeah, so then it has the Sapphire on top, which was also rare 10 years ago. But yeah, Sapphire on top, and then you have a 20mm lug width. So it's a strap monster. You can pretty much put any leather strap on it. It has a lug-to-lug of 44mm, and it has a sign crown. So it pretty much has all the basics of a great watch, if you think about it. And it's so wild to me that this watch was produced 10 years ago before you can really get like customer feedback. Now, so you can get feedback on everything, right? Online, everybody will critique and talk about the watch that the different companies are producing. But still they were able to produce a watch like this. And the funny thing is, this watch was never released in the United States or Europe. It was released in Japan. And I think for the Japanese market, this watch might have been an outlier. The 38mm, I think at that point was their sports watch size, which is kind of funny to think about because 38mm 10 years ago was kind of small for the European and American market. So when they brought it over, I think people saw it more as a dress watch in America and Europe. They saw it more as a dress watch, more as I think a sports watch because of the bracelet and just the functions of the watch. But overall, they saw it more as a formal watch. And it's funny how that translates, right? Because in Asian market, I think maybe the wrist size on average is not as huge as in America and Europe and other places in the world. So it's funny to see how different watches has different meanings depending on where you are and how they function and how they wear. But I love, this watch is just great. It has 100 meters of water rating as well. So it's really like, it's like a sports watch, but it's like functions as a dress watch. If you look at the case, and it's one of those things with Seiko, like how they produce their cases is just phenomenal. I've always been interested in how they do it. I mean, you can see all the curves. You can see how the upper part of the case just kind of melts into the lugs, right? And it's cool, it has the dual tone feature, dual tone look to it, right? So you have the polished, and then now you have the brush and you have the polished look on the middle of the case. And just the lines and the curves, man, you can kind of accentuate a little bit. I don't know if you can accentuate it here, but you can see how the lines just kind of go through to separate the case to create this 3D effect. I just love about Seiko cases. But honestly, like preference for me is not necessarily these types of cases. I probably prefer German cases where it's a little bit more flat. I love flat cases just to kind of sit flushed on your wrist. I think sometimes wearing this watch, sometimes like if I'm looking at it from the sides, it's not necessarily as flush. It's just like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's not necessarily like the look that I'm going for. But I love the fact that you can get this type of watch with this type of design and detail at this price point. And honestly, I only think Seiko is doing this. I don't think there's any other manufacturer in the world that can produce these types of cases. They're so unique and incredible. It's hard to produce something as intricate as this watch. As these watch cases that Seiko can produce. I've already mentioned the sign crown, and I just love how it looks. The S, it's just amazing. Just the design of it, right? So yeah, the movement, it hacks, as you can see here. It hacks, and it has a day window at the third position. And this one, another thing I like about this watch, the day window is not just an afterthought. If you put it in the first position, you should be able to change the day window. Can I change it? Yeah, like so. So it wasn't just an afterthought. you know? I mean, usually a lot of manufacturers just put in the date window because people want them. But as you can see, it's not just an afterthought. They framed it with metal framing to accentuate the importance of the date window. Because if you just leave it there, like what's the point of it? Just to put in the function? Like it has to be elegant, I think. And I think the third position is also the best way to put in a date window. Some watch manufacturers are starting to put it at the sixth. I think maybe for symmetry, but it just looks wrong for me. I can't explain what it is. So a guy like me, I don't know if you have followed my channel. I don't like the date window in general. I like my watches to be super clean and I want them to be unbothered. And I think the date window obstructs that experience. But the fact that they have put it in there and it's not bothering me, it says a lot about the way they designed this watch. I also love that they still put in a small like line. It's not applied, but like a black indice. It's printed indice to kind of indicate that the 3 is upcoming from the 2, which I love. So yeah, the watch movement 6R15, it hacks and you can wind it as well. And for me, it's been running within I would say plus 10 minus seconds a day, which is great. I would say so for this type of price point and this type of movement. It is considered they're more premium movements compared to like the NH35. It only has a heart rate of 3 hertz. So it doesn't tick like 4 hertz like the Miyota 9039 does or the ETA 2824 does. So I think that might be a con for some people. They would love to have that experience where it smooths more precisely, I would say so. It has a smoother movement. But yeah, the dial is probably the best part of the watch. So if you take a look at it, you have the Seiko logo, which is a metal applied logo, and it kind of floats a little bit. It's probably hard to show here. But then he has automatic printing on the 6th. It just says automatic and then 23 joules, just explaining some specifications of the movement. The dials are applied. It's multifaceted, has a pip of lume at the bevel. And then, yeah, the 12th has, it's almost like a double effect. It's almost like they put 2 of them together to kind of accentuate that that's the 12th. The time begins again. But yeah. And then the dial color obviously is cream, which, some people might love, some people might not. I think it's super neutral, it's classy. One thing also I loved about the watch is the second track, the edge, the second edge track, it's just amazing. I love how they done it. Usually I don't like when watches, they bend or have that, edge where it's have a steep angle. I just don't prefer it. I just don't like it. But I think with this watch, the way they've done it, it's been amazing. So I think just every aspect of the dial is just incredible. The indices you really cannot get for any other watch at this price point. You just can't. It's just amazing how they're faceted, the way they are, the way they're applied. Just the second track, it's just functional, but it looks beautiful. It almost like glues the whole watch together. I love the second track on this because sometimes the angle is just too steep or it's just too wide. This scenario just looks great. I genuinely don't like the edge of the dial usually, but on this watch I just love it. Everything about the watch I love, and that's why I probably deem it as one of the best watches you can get on the market. It truly is. Even for the price point, I think there's a lot of $500, a lot of micro brands, they really cannot compete. Another note though, a lot of people I've seen says that it's overpriced, at $1,000. I never seen the watch at $1,000, and if I've seen it at $1,000, it never sold at $1,000. So I don't know who are saying that they bought the watch for $1,000. That's just wild to me because they're not. I wouldn't necessarily say. I honestly would say it's worth $1,000, but you can get it for $500. You should be able to manage that. The bracelet, I think it's fine. Again, been very critiqued. I think it's fairly comfortable. I do understand it's probably not the best style. Just the way it looks, it might have been a little bit more intricate. It might have been more refined. I'm assuming it has the push release clasp system. I love the hinge on it. It just feels premium. It's not gonna bend on you. It's gonna be it's a solid piece of metal. Never bend on you. It's not gonna destroy. So I think it's just a watch built with a purpose. You know, it's supposed to be worn. It does get scratches on it, but I like the flat links. The only thing is like the push-pull, the push pins. I'm not the biggest fan of like screw-ons, but you know, 10 years ago, I don't think that was that normal to have on a bracelet. I think it's something that microbrands have really applied on the watches, and therefore it's been more normal for us to have screw-in pins. But yeah, there's not much anything else to say about the watch. It's just great, man. I think it can be a great first watch, but it can also be a great second or third watch. But if you have your eyes on it, don't wait like 10 watches down the road and buy it. You know, buy it when you still love it and have interest for it, because this watch can really prevent a lot of bad purchases. You know, and when you buy it, just don't buy it because you have to. Like, I bought the watch with the Sarb 035 because they're just must-haves for me in my collection, and then you forget to wear them, and then you're like buying 10 other watches, and then you wore these watches and you're like, man, why did I even buy those 10 watches? I could have literally just worn these watches and compared every other watch purchased to these watches and been like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep these because they're incredible. And they're incredible watches. And I think they can prevent you from a lot of headache if you just wear and use them. And I think it's fair that you want to try something else. Sometimes watches can be boring and you want to try something else, and that's fine. But sometimes you also have to understand, it is an expensive hobby. You don't buy and sell like, 20 watches, 30 watches a year, because it can be very expensive. But yeah, it's a classic watch, man. I highly recommend the Sarb, like all of the Sarbs. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I know I've been rambling a lot in this video. I just think it's an incredible watch, and I'm probably gonna let it go, but mainly for the reason I can get it again. If I could not get it again, I would not sell it. I would literally keep it. But it's only because I know for a fact that there's gonna be somebody out there who probably on the same journey as me, who has a lot of watches, where this served its purpose. The Sarb 035 definitely had its purpose, but now they are getting to a point where they want to try something else. And I think I'm probably, either try something else, they just want to free up some cash and they want to free up their collection so they can really focus on the 10, 15, 20 watches they have, and just kind of consolidate their collection a bit. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I would love to know your experience with the Sarb. Have you bought it? Are you considering buying it? And what's prevented you from buying it if you haven't bought it yet? So thank you for watching. Again, I rambled a lot in this video, but hopefully you enjoyed the review. Thank you.